Let's look at the explanation of the three questions which we solved on profit and loss in a much more detailed manner, where we can solve it with the basic concept of formula and how did we arrive at a faster way of solving it. As we read the question, Alfred buys an old scooter for rupees 4,700 and spends rupees 800 on its repairs. If he sells the scooter for 5,800, his gain percentage is. To find out profit percentage, we need cost price and the selling price. Selling price is given up straight away. The cost price is broken into two components. One is what you spent on buying and what you spent on repairs. So the net value would be your total cost price. So if you recall your formula of percentage profit, it is nothing but selling price minus cost price divided by cost price into 100. The profit is always calculated with respect to cost price. Hence, the denominator would be cost price unless something is specified in the question. Now, the minute you read this and you recall this concept, you know that you have your total cost price, you know you have your total selling price. Hence, you will be able to solve the question by just substituting the specific values. If you go ahead and do it, 5,800 into the cost price is a combination of two components which will add up to, this is subtraction. The cost price will be the summation of these two components which adds up to 5,500. And with respect to the cost price, this is what we are looking at in terms of simplification. Straightforward, even if you don't look at any trick or anything else or a faster way of applying it, you will still be able to do this much if you recall your concept. That is nothing but 300 divided by 5500 into 100. If you simplify this further, it's nothing but 300 divided by 55. 55 goes 5 times. What is the remainder? 55 into 5 is 275. Remainder is 25. So it is 55, 25 by 55, which is nothing but, when you further simplify, it is 5 by 11. Now, every time we have a question which has multiple answer options, we should try and pull out hints from there also. That is where it will cut down our time. The minute you reach this stage, you know it is divided by 55. That means there is a divide by 11, because 55 is nothing but 11 into 5. 300 is divisible by 5, but it's not divisible by 11. So there's only one of the option which has a divide by 11. That means from here it indicates that without calculating you can at least choose this. We may not be lucky to have these kind of scenarios everywhere, but if you spot one, use it to your advantage. You can save a couple of seconds in terms of calculation. That is what we should be aiming for. At any given scenario, different people may use different combinations and save the amount of time in different places. So there's no hard and fast rule. Whatever you're comfortable with and what strikes you at that particular time is what is important. Now, going further, how can we further bring down the entire process of writing all these steps? When you read for the first time, the same analysis. We need profit percentage, we need cost price, selling price. Both of them are given. Basically, when you do profit percentage, you need to find out profit, which is this, divided by the cost price, which is this. Ideally, when you read a fairly straightforward question like this, the only thing you'll need to write is what is your cost price, which is a small mental calculation of these two, and what is your profit. Once you have written your cost price, you're only subtracting these two, which again mentally you can calculate. This you're supposed to represent as a percentage. This is only for representation. You don't even need to write this on your worksheet. From this, if we can connect the logic of divide by 11, 3 by 55 has to be represented as a percentage. There is 11 in the denominator and it will remain there until unless you convert it to a decimal. So when we convert this to a mixed fraction, there's only one fraction among the choices which has a divide by 11 case scenario. So that emphasizes that this is the answer. So technically beyond this, you don't need to write much once you are comfortable in the concept and handling the amount of data mentally. Both are important. Concept itself, the clarity of the concept itself is important. At the same time, as you practice, you will be able to carry on more information in your head and do small mental calculation with which you can cut down on this laborious writing process. That is how you try and refine slowly with practice. At different places, different people can cut down different number of steps, effectively reducing the amount of time you need to solve the question. Now we'll move on to the next question. In a certain store, the profit is 320% off the cost. If the cost is increased by 25%, but the selling price remains constant, approximately what percentage of the selling price is the profit? Again, if you notice the answers, all of them are distinct values. There are no cannot be determined or none of these. That means we know if we take a simple example case scenario, for example, you say cost price equal to 100 and continue, you will get the answer. This itself means that whether somebody takes 100 or 200 or 500, the answer will be independent of your starting value. In spite of that, let's take a generalized approach. We can assume that the cost price is 100x. So that means it's going to be proved for all of them. Now it says the profit percentage is 320%. So if you increase 300x by 320%, my selling price is nothing but 420x. Now what do they mention? If the cost price is increased, this is increased by 25%. So this becomes 125x. This retains same. They say the selling price remains constant. This is 420x. Now the difference is what? 420 minus 125, that is 295x. They are asking what percentage of the selling price is the profit. They're saying of the selling price. Generally we calculate percentage profit with respect to cost price. That is a thumb rule. That is a basic concept what we learn. But now they're overriding this condition by saying with respect to or percentage of the selling price. So if we in a hurry end up looking at the basic concept and try to calculate this with respect to the cost price, we'll end up getting an error or an incorrect answer. So this paying attention to these details is as important as knowing the concept or being fast in our calculations. So when we apply this, the profit is nothing but 295x with respect to what is it? The selling price. Trying to represent it as 100. So is this value independent of x? Yes. So it is proven that for any kind of value you take, it will always be a constant. You don't need to do this x. You could have taken a single value that is 100 or 200 and continued, because we see all distinct values as the options. Now this is a matter of simplification. Somebody may end up spending time on this to get to the correct answer. Now 295 divided by 400. The closest fraction what we will be familiar with is 300 by 400. This is nothing but 3/4, which we know as 75%. Now is there a 75%? No. There is one value which is very close to 75, less than 75. There is one value above 75 which is fairly far away, that is 100%. Now this numerator is slightly lesser than 300, which means this fraction has to be lower. This denominator is greater than 400. That means it will again pull it down only. So effectively this fraction is going to be lesser than this fraction because the numerator is lower and the denominator is higher. Now these deviations, this 5 units here and 20 units here, is a very small deviation. So we have to look at a number which is less than 75, which is with a small deviation. 30% is too far away. 30%, if you look at this, would be something close to 100 by 400 approximately. It's a range, or 133 by 400. That is a large deviation. So definitely it's not 30%. It is still a number which is closer to 70. sorry, 75. So the only option there is 70. So that becomes the correct answer. These kind of approximations also help you save time, and it gets you off the need of calculation. When you avoid calculation, there are two things. One, you save a little bit of time, and the amount of fatigue also reduces. So both as a combination, in certain questions it will work in your favor. Certain questions you may be forced to calculate. There is no holy grail, or there is no rule that every time you'll be able to save time or every time you'll be able to find a shortcut. It's just the amount of practice and the exposure to the various situations you have will open up your mind in different ways of solving a question. That is what we need to aim for. So practicing of different types of questions is key always. Let's proceed to the next one. Here the amount of data is very less. If the selling price is doubled, the profit triples, find the profit percentage. The original solution which I shared shows a very visual representation of what is being done. Let's not go by that. Let's look at the basic concept of profit. Just by formula, let's try and see if we can understand what happens. Now, profit is what? Same thing. Selling price minus cost price divided by cost price into 100. It says if the selling price is doubled, the profit triples. Find the profit percentage. Now to find the profit percentage, what do we need? We need the relationship between profit and cost price, because this is what the formula is, where SP minus CP is nothing but the profit. So if you get the ratio of profit by the cost price, that also is enough. So this is one scenario. They're saying if the selling price is doubled, that is 2 times selling price, the cost price remains same into 100. The profit ends up becoming 3 times. Correct? So you've got two equations, and we see that there are 3 variables there. We need to understand, can we find out this relationship? One way of looking at it straight away is, I can say, divide the two equations. So I'll get 1 by 3 is equal to selling price minus cost price divided by 2 times selling price minus cost price. In this scenario, we are going to get the relationship between selling price and cost price straight away when you look at this equation. So if you, let's say, you continue to do it manually, you get 2 times selling price minus cost price equal to 3 times selling price minus 3 times cost price. That is nothing but selling price is equal to 2 times of cost price. This is the relationship which we have got. That is 2 times cost price equal to selling price. Yeah. So all it means is, if cost price is 10, the selling price is 20. Yeah. So basically what will profit be? The other 10. Cost price and profit will be same, and selling price will be double of the profit, or selling price will be double of cost price. So by going by the basic formula method also, you can do this exercise and still you will be able to achieve the answer. From here, what are we interpreting? Profit is equal to cost price. So this divided by this is 1 by 1 into 100. So that gives us the answer of 100%, which gives us B. Now, is there any other way of doing it? This would be one brute force method from the basic concept. The other one is, we are taking up the same solution what we saw initially in a slower format. It says the selling price is doubled. So selling price is nothing but what? Cost price plus profit. When I double this, what happens? The profit becomes 3 times. If I double this, the profit will be still this. This is the selling price now, the new selling price. So this new profit, they are saying it is 3 times. That means the difference between this profit and this profit, which is The additional selling price we have got is nothing but 2 times the profit. Because this is 3 times profit, this is single profit, this will be the remaining 2 pieces of profit. So here you have indirectly got one relationship, 2 times profit is equal to selling price. The same thing if you interpret this side, which means that profit is half of SP, the same visualization here. Profit will be half of the selling price. That means the remaining half will be cost price. So this is half of the same value. That means these two are equal. You've got the same relationship here, which you end up achieving in the previous case. Both are different ways of looking at it. One is a very visual way of looking at it. The other one is a formula oriented approach. Either way, you would still get the similar answer. This is an example of seeing that there are various approaches to different problems. Now, the most important thing we need to understand is only by looking at solutions when either I am solving or somebody else is solving, we'll only understand possibilities. But to be able to apply it, we should practice, and there is no other way about it. We have to practice different kinds of questions. Yes, we will solve some of them, we will get stuck. After getting stuck, we will explore some other routes. You will get the solution later. Some of them you may not even get the solution without external help. All those scenarios will happen. Until unless you go through that grind, we will not be able to sharpen our application level skills. Knowing concepts, understanding shortcuts which are only for specific case scenarios are all a different game. But it's important for us to understand the concept and be able to apply that understanding in different directions to be able to eventually get the best way possible. Now, best way could be different ways. One is you may reduce the number of seconds or minutes you're using to solve the question. Sometimes you may visualize it in a better way. If not reduce the time a lot, you'll at least have lesser fatigue by reducing the calculation. All of them will trickle down and add a little bit in each and every question and help you smoothly sail through the entire paper.